then you can tell me that something doesn't work once you've given me the data that it doesn't work. So from there, I did my corporate stuff for many years. I was in all kinds of marketing roundtables and trying to make changes in 3 different organizations, and kept kind of running to the same problem. For me, it was a problem because I wanted to do things differently. I was very experienced. I was young. I had the energy, and usually, typically, marketing and IT for some reason are on this side, and then you've got the CEO or operations and accounting saying, well. So I was like done with all that. So I was kind of getting burnt out. I was kind of tired of. I've climbed this ladder. Some great things have happened, some other things, so not so great things have happened, but nevertheless, I needed a change. And so I got burnt out and I went into mortgage lending. Little did I know that mortgage lending was moving me from a corporate 9-to-5 mentality to a entrepreneur type of mentality where you're commissioned, you're working for your sales and your loans go somewhere. But I love that I was making this impact directly with the customer instead of in the back end where I just was done fighting that fight. So I did mortgage lending for about 8 years, which was really great. And that led me back to my business. I was working as an in-house mortgage loan officer for KW, Keller Williams, and Movement Mortgage, whose vision and mission statements aligned. I always look as a professional, no matter what position I was going to, made sure, because this is me, my personal branding and my beliefs and everything that I am moving forward in everything that I looked at. So for me, it was really important that businesses, I've already been through all the other, I'm going to call it crap for lack of a better word. And moving forward, I wanted to be intentional about what I did and the moves that I made. And so going into Keller Williams and Movement, I was like, oh my gosh, these 2 companies' vision and mission statements align. God, family, business, period, in that order. And so I thought, that's what I want to incorporate. That's who I want to work for, because that's in my core. So little did I know that this position was going to bring me back to marketing, because what I was doing was actually training folks in social media, real estate agents, social media marketing strategies, system overload, which most of them had. And little did I know that that was preparing me for my next step. So always look at the situation that you're in and see where it's leading you. Because sometimes when we least expected, the next step is right in front of our eyes and we've been ignoring it, chasing something else. In my head, I still wanted to get into the Marriotts. I wanted to work for Coca-Cola. I wanted to work for big marketing departments that got what I was doing, but those doors just kept closing. One day I'm actually talking to a realtor and giving her some marketing strategy advice. And a young lady pulled me to the side who cared very much for me, said, what are you doing? You better be charging these people for this stuff that you're doing. And I was like, whatever, be quiet. And I went back to my desk in my office. I was livid because I had built all these great relationships with these agents, but what I hadn't done was get their loans. And so that whole messaging was just really confusing to me. So I was really mad. And I've shared this with a few folks, because the real story is that I went back to my desk, I threw my feet up in the air and I was mad. There was F-bombs going off everywhere. And I even looked out the window and I said, yes, I did say this to God. I asked him, I said, what the F, God? You've got me in the right place. I see these mission statements aligned. I've formed all these great relationships. I've even gotten back into marketing. What is it that you want from me? And I promise you guys, this isn't, I'm not preaching or anything, but it came in and he said, you're supposed to start your own marketing business. And I was like, who said that? Because I was the only one in the office. I said, God, is that it? Like, I was really having this conversation is that it? All this rigmarole and all the stuff that you've put me through for this? But you know what? I hadn't seen it. I wasn't looking at the signs. I wasn't looking at, he sent that message to somebody else. And I was like, all right, well, I can do that. I can start a company. I've been on my own pretty much for 8 years now. And so I talked to the broker. Before I talked to the broker, I said, okay, well, so I looked around, I was like, what am I supposed to call this thing since you've got all these great ideas? And then he whispered, Elevate It Now. I was like, nah, that easy? And so I started searching. Nothing was elevated in 2014. I can assure you. I searched because as a marketer, before I start a business, before I do anything else with myself or my clients, I do the search to see how inundated that particular topic of discussion, that hashtag, that title, whatever it is. Nothing was elevated. So I was like, all right, in 15 minutes, I had my LLC, I had my tax ID number, and I had everything I needed. All I needed was to open my account and get started. But I told my company what was happening and where I was going with this, and they were all really happy for me because they had already kind of seen where I was going. And I actually wanted to work directly with Movement, but I was not good because their marketing was actually what inspired me again. I love that their branding, their marketing, and the resources they had given to us had just been like, man, I want to be a part of that. So that's what I've always wanted, just to be a part of an awesome team that is ready to just do everything right. But I wasn't moving to South Carolina. My husband was not having it. And so Elevate It Now was born. The funny story of Elevate It Now, and when I say that when you don't make a decision that is meant for you, someone will push you out of the way, it will happen. So last day of February of 2014, my manager and another manager came to see me about how proud they were of me, that I'd made all these great relationships. However, we felt that you'd be better as a loan assistant. I said, what? You want to demote me? You know what? I said, I gave them my badge. I said, listen, I'm done. I'm going to go run my business. Thank you for the opportunity, and Elevate It Now. So I started running Elevate It Now March 1st. And my life has never been the same. There's nothing like finding your true calling and working through the trenches and going through the experiences that we all go through to it. You finally get to that point where it's, oh my gosh, this is what I was meant to be. I always knew I was going to be CEO of something because I always felt leadership. I was the oldest in the family. I was just born with it. And so when that opportunity came up, it's been great. I've had some Decembers where I think about shutting down because things in those first couple of years don't always look great. And running a business sometimes can be a really lonely place, but there was nothing more rewarding than helping my clients in my own terms without any input from a board or from a CEO who doesn't know marketing or anyone else who thought they knew marketing like I did. So that has been my journey, and everything has worked, has been a path to it. So when you're going through your journey, where no matter where you are, and if you're beginning 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, try everything, because you never know what that opportunity is going to lead to you, especially if it aligns with who you are, as in branding. We talk about branding a lot. What is branding? What's branding? Is it a logo? No. Is it colors? No. Is it fonts? No. Is it this? Yes. And all those other things. So each and one of us as marketers, even though we may focus on an area, whether it's video marketing, email marketing, a generalist like me who decided I was going to learn everything and then pick from there, everything goes along your journey, and make sure that you're intentional about your next moves or what you want to do or what you want to say. If you're in corporate and you're in a meeting and you see this little thing tugging, you feel this thing tugging at you, and you don't say anything, you're doing you a disservice, because you never know who is going to say, you know what, that's a great idea. When it comes to my branding, it's always been about color in it. And I always go back to FDIC, which we all know FDIC is what? Regulators. They're the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. And I remember that I had to deploy 3 new designs for the debit cards. And I did a real typical, the triangle redone in a different color. I took it up a notch and did it a different color. I went full blown color, and my CEO had a conniption. She was like, no way. These are regulators. These are this. There's no way that you can do that. They're going to accept this. I said, just let me give it a try. You can write me up and do whatever you want later. You know which one they picked? The colorful one. Because they were tired. They were sick and tired. And they were sick and tired of people assuming that they knew what they wanted because they were regulators. So when I say take the risk, say the word, the worst thing that's going to happen is, we'll take it into consideration. But the other awesome thing that can happen is get that girl back in here, get that guy back in here, and let's talk more about what they brought up because I'm interested. So as a marketer, we're all about taking risks. We are not the safe zone. And if you're the safe zone marketer, good for you, then find that opportunity in the safe zone. But there's a bunch of marketers out there, especially now with social media marketing and all these things. People, the world has become chaotic online. And so for us to stand out, it's not just knowing marketing and our trait. It's what are we going to do with our branding outside of that? And what have you developed from all those years? And if you don't like it, change it. Don't ever think, oh, I've been doing this for this. People, no, then change it. A lot of people ask me about my teal hair. I love teal. I love teal because it is very personal to me, not just because it's a beautiful color, but when I mean intention, let me tell you, intention is, what is teal to Monica? Is the ocean that surrounds where she's from, Puerto Rico. It is one of the boldest colors in the array of colors that is actually peaceful, creative, and brings this to it. So those are the two main reasons. I love it. It represents who I am. So your personal branding should be a lot about what's in here. And then this whole outside stuff is, guess what? To be intentional, to get the attention that I need in a pool of noise. So I stay on brand with my colors. And how I stay authentic is in talking to you guys, I'm looking very professional. My social media presence is very professional, but then I stay authentic. My audience also knows me without makeup. They know me without lipstick. They know when I've cried. They know when someone has passed in my family. And that's what being authentic is not being afraid to share your real story with an audience that actually you have taught to care about each other. So intentional, real, authentic, colorful is my brand. To some people, it's other things. To some people, it could be that they're the black and white person. To some people, is that they like all white, they like static. That wasn't me. I come from a tropical island that's full, not only full of color from the outside, but its people are warm and colorful and vivid. So when you think that some of those things that make you who you are aren't part of your branding, guess again, because they are the root of your branding. Everything else external is something else. Another thing too is that when we think of color, for me, color drives emotions. So when we talk about branding, what colors are we using to drive those emotions from the people that we're talking to? Hitting in those emotions drives action. And what do we want? We want action. We want people to pay attention. Those people that are going to resonate with us. So I don't want somebody that doesn't like teal following me because they don't get it. That's fine. Then go find somebody else that you. The opportunities are endless for us to be authentic, real, whether it's colorful, whether it's anything. And in this day and age, as marketers, we need to know branding and marketing and the difference between the two, because the world in social and online is defining that differently than the real stuff that we know as marketers. The education, the principles, how we do campaigns. You know, we are real marketers. We are not marketers that were born from social media or because we know Instagram or because we know TikTok. We are marketers because we are in this group, because we eat, breathe, and marketing, and that's what we do, no matter what, whether it's video, email, online, digital, traditional, podcast, PR, whatever those things are, we are still marketers in our core. And I always want to make sure I shine that online to differentiate myself from those that were born from social. So I think that that's the gift that we all have here, no matter which path in our marketing is, that our backgrounds come from solid marketing principles, not born from something online. So embrace your journey, embrace everything, every opportunity that you have, because you never know what it's leading to. If you're paying attention to your path, it will all come full circle. So trust you, trust your knowledge and everything that you are. And that's it. I think I probably forgot a bunch of things, but right, Angela, you're here.
I'm here. I am so sorry about that. Typical, like, been a crazy start to 2022. So busy. I suppose I won't say busy is good. I'm not going to say that. I am not going to say that. But thank you so much. I did come in halfway, so apologies for that. I'm not sure if you're ready to share the key takeaways. I know you just, but we have a beautiful slide because as we are.
Well, then put up the beautiful slide. I try to repeat them, but
Well, no, it's just a quick summary for everyone. If you are ready for that, only if you're ready.
Yeah. And the key takeaway is kind of what I've said. Be intentional in your things. You have no idea how when somebody realizes that we're being intentional and they recognize the intention. And I'm talking about people that point out, did you mean to put 5 things of this to articulate 5 points? Yes, I did. Did you mean to? And all of a sudden it stops being a question, it becomes part of you. Everything you do is intentional so that whether it's branding, whether it's talking, whether it's the outfit I wore today, whether it's what I decide to say to you guys today, it's all intentional. I intentionally did not wear my tie-dye today because you know what? I'm in my pro role. And so I did not come out with my hoodie. Any other time, I will. But my audience knows both of these sides. And they know with everything, every post that I put, every piece of content that I do, I am delivering a message. And that's where branding comes in as well. And be real. We didn't want to say be authentic because if authentic is starting to get overused, just like consulting is getting overused and coaches are getting overused. So be real, just be you. The people that shine online are not the fakers of the funk, are the ones that are talking from here and from what they know here. And they're not afraid to fail. And when they fail, they're not afraid to share because there's always something to be learned. And yes, be colorful. Not just about the teal, but be colorful in how you address folks, how you talk to people. We are marketers. We are the cheerleaders of organization. We are the cheerleaders of communications. There's a lot of expectations from us that, quite frankly, are being diluted in social media marketing. I'm not going to get into that right now, but be colorful, be who you need to be. If you're one that wants to have yellow hair, have it. You'll be surprised how many people love the fact that you're different and you're not just sitting there, well, I'm coming here today to talk to you about, branding. Embrace everything. Every opportunity in your career has something to teach. Whether it's in marketing, whether it's about leadership, even failures or lessons of life, because there are things you're not going to do again. There's always something to be learned from every experience, good, bad, ugly. And it is never too late to be the marketer and person that you want to be. If you're 60 years old and you want to start your own business, go for it. Don't let anyone else tell you that, oh, but aren't you ready to retire? No. Do I look like I'm ready to retire? I'm even thinking about my next step in retirement might be a flower shop. Whatever that is, it's still involved in color. I'll still be using marketing and I'll be selling flowers and creating my own flower arrangements. Embrace it. And it's never too late to be who you want to be tomorrow, today.
Thank you for that. On that cue, we're going to do have everyone kind of let that sink in. And if you want to move to the awesome next slide, we're going to do some breakouts. And here is the cue for you all. It's going to be about 10 minutes or so. Then we'll regroup everybody, kind of gather your thoughts. We want this really to be kind of actionable, hence the breakouts, not just Monica talking at you, but think through. And you could be all of these, of course, but and maybe you already have your personal brand wrapped up in a bow, no problem, but just share with the others. And maybe there is one new one new takeaway that could resonate, maybe change your brand. So I'm going to break out everybody into these rooms. And Monica, I wanted to see if you wanted to go to a room or you want to take a little bit of a break.
Oh, yeah, no, I'll go in a room.
Okay, and then I might just actually rotate you a little bit around. So here we
Okay.
go. I'm going to open the rooms and hold on one quick second. Yep, here we go. Okay. Hold on one second. Sorry. Here we go for about 10 minutes. You can, let's. Really? Okay.
Yes, because I was saying something in that.
I know, and then we kind of zipped you off, so apologies
okay.
for that. Anybody want to share from their room, like your key takeaways or something that Monica said that resonated with you, something to add to it? You can't do teal. What other color would you choose?
I was talking to Veronica and I forget who else was in that, but Jennifer, I think it was. And they brought up they both brought up the same thing, the takeaway about, and someone else in the other group brought it up too, that how do you migrate that corporate and personal brand? And some of the folks work in what I call boring environments, because they are credit unions, nonprofits and whatever, that are kind of still doing things back in the days. And you're one that's like, I want to bring color into this. I think it'll make a difference. How do you migrate those? Stay consistent, right? If you're in social and you want to migrate those two, then use the social networks to be your professional persona, let's say on your feed, and then in your stories and those opportunities where you can be more authentic, like where you can be whoever you want on TikTok and Snapchat, use those other channels to show that personality of you, but be consistent in what you believe, in what you talk about, and the things that are important to you, and slowly migrate them, because you can. If you have a business thing going on over here, you want to migrate those two, because right now people are doing business with people, not really necessarily entities. And the more that you shine through that entity, the more you're going to stand out to that target audience that you're trying to reach. I think I brought up the example of the twin moms. Twin moms, are you a twin mom? Are you the Latin community? Are you the Asian community? Are you serving the African American community? Whatever those are, stick with those and feed those and slowly migrate them, but stay authentic to it. I have somebody that I follow all the time that I finally unfollowed, because every 6 months they were doing something different in marketing. But for those 6 months, that was the it thing to do in marketing. And then it was the other 6 months, it was something else. So he lost everything because he wasn't always talking the same pitch all the time of what that was. So I hope that helps.
Okay, thank you for that, Monica. That does help. Anybody would like to share, or do you want me to call on somebody? Love doing.
Call on Jenny. And then Marcus.
We were in the same room. I think some of the things, embrace everything resonated with me because I'm like a career shifter. I'm very non-linear. But then the conversation in the room was like, does that conflict with being intentional and, knowing what you want versus kind of trying to embrace everything? If you take everything in, are you somehow like overextending yourself or not focused? So that was some of our conversation. And then just as far as be colorful, I like that one a lot. My wedding colors were teal, got married in Lake Tahoe. So we had everyone wore Tahoe blue, but I think that kind of mentality as far as a personal brand, I would say for me, I would say be enthusiastic. And that's carried me a long way in new jobs and old jobs. And so it's kind of a different twist on the same idea.
But that's branding. That is color. The color doesn't, I'm glad you brought that up, because that is color, right? Our personalities, who we are, whether I'm in all black or whatever I am, I'm like, hi, how are you? That's just who I am. That's part of your branding. Just like this could be part of your branding too. And then nobody wants to listen to what you're saying.
Yeah,
No matter how colorful you are.
it's funny. When I was in sales at Adobe, I was very stressed and on my way out, and I wore black every day. And my manager actually picked up on it. She says, "What's going on with you?" And I said, "I was expressing the way I was feeling." So that really resonated with me.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I'll share something. Hi, I'm Liz. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Liz.
I was in a group. Monica, thank you so much. That was such a great presentation. I really got a lot out of it.
Thanks.
I was in a group with Pamela and then also with Courtney, who's an opera singer who I think is connecting with you, Monica. And but Pamela mentioned an idea that I thought was really interesting, and I had forgotten. I did something kind of like this a while ago, but she created an anonymous Twitter account where she had a little cartoon that was like her emoji or emoticon or her, image profile. And then also too was able to then in the Twitter account post in a sense whatever she wanted, and brand herself that way or kind of become comfortable with the brand. And I thought that's an interesting process to go through if you're having, any kind, it can be vulnerable putting yourself out there. And if you're having any kind of, sort of curiosity about trying to see if you can do it or if you can kind of get that voice. When I was in a process of trying to get out of being a video producer and going over into real estate marketing, I did do a Twitter account that was real estate related. And then I'd had a Twitter account that was also like video production related. And that's where I was kind of talking about, like I had the two going kind of to see what I guess resonated for me more or what felt comfortable to do. But I thought it's a neat sort of opportunity that we have with social media and with different platforms or accounts where you can kind of get out there and just test it and see what makes you feel comfortable.
That's a great point.
Thank
That
you.
is a really great point, because I'm even thinking about doing the same thing. And I know Courtney and I've talked about this because she wants to help me. But, I talk about this peaceful community and a community of love and hope and all those great things that I am. But now I'm thinking actually about getting on TikTok, and I haven't gotten on TikTok or Reels just because this whole thing just doesn't do it for me. It's got to be strategic and intentional. So what I've come up with is if I'm going to jump on TikTok, you know what I'm going to talk about? I'm going to talk about all the nonsense that's going on social with our marketing agencies and the bad rap that we're actually getting. And I'm actually thinking of going on a totally like a more rant type of personality to talk about the terrible things that are happening in our industry, which we are not, and differentiating that niche. Something I would never do in my other social networks. So I'm glad you brought that up, Liz.
So we have time for one more person from another breakout room. Any volunteers?
I'd like to hear from Veronica because she did bring up a really great point about that whole the migration of the corporate and those side hustles that we have, and how do we incorporate the corporate and personal branding together.
I don't mind being put on the spot.
I'm sorry, but it was a good question. You weren't the only one that brought it up, is really why, Keith, because a couple of other people mentioned it too, that's where they were like,
Yeah, I'll try to share it really quickly. So I was just expressing how since early 2000s, when I've been doing my side gig, in addition to my full-time marketing jobs, I've focused on a professional kind of persona and business. And I've always struggled and wondered how to incorporate the personal side of things too, how to share my personal side and things that I'm interested in. And I've never really felt comfortable doing that. And just recently, I found a good model and example of some brands that are doing it pretty well, and decided to rebrand myself and to present both the professional and the personal side. So I'm building that up over the last year plus, and we'll start sharing that more and more in the coming months and years. But the angle, the approach that I think I'm going to take with it is from a perspective of how do you do it? I was telling Monica that, it helps to have like a niche, a special thing that makes you a little bit different of how you're talking about things and approaching things. And I think the way that I'm going to approach it is from the perspective of how do you do it? Because people have asked me that over the years, like, how do you juggle having 3 kids, a husband, a
Mhm.
professional, you know, a full-time gig? David's laughing because he knows. How are you in a doctorate program and doing all this stuff and volunteering and blah, blah, blah. So I think I'm just going to share, like, how do I do all of this? How do you mentor while you're doing all this?
Mhm.
You know? So that's, I try to spit that out really quickly, sorry.
And that's a great thing, and it's always evolving, right? Always remember that branding, your personal branding, just like a corporation who rebrands every couple of years, or if their strategic direction has changed, our personal branding is also gonna evolve. Mine hasn't, I think I'm done. I know I just cut my hair and let it grow out and do that kind of stuff, but throughout your years, until you hit that happy spot where you're like, oh my God, I'm finally who I think I was meant to be. Until then, it is always evolving, and who knows if 5 years it won't evolve. Always evolving.
On that note, any other comments? We are at 1 p.m., 1 o'clock. So if you have to leave, don't be shy. Go ahead and we'll see you at our next event, our winter event 2, which we're really excited about. More info to come. But Monica's going to stick around for a few more minutes if you have a little bit of time for more Q&A. Other than that, thank you for joining today.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.